Damn. I was just reading an article about Chef Kat Cora claiming her ex-wife is out to destroy her. And unfortunately in this time, there's too many bad batches out there trying to destroy other people. I hear a lot of stories. They're very good from lifelong practice of hiding their tracks very well. There are some common signs to watch out for. You could do research on that. But yeah, man, I've had many bitches fucking target me, call me out publicly when I reveal their weakness, or not even reveal, threaten to reveal their weaknesses or negative traits. Propaganda and the undecided, that's what we were on. So, only within the limits of collective foci of interest can propaganda be effective. We are not dealing here with prejudices or stereotypes, which imply minds that are already made up. We are dealing with foci of interest, where minds are not necessarily made up yet. So hence I say free love is an example of a system where the Jezebels are given the power to run their propaganda operations on a mass scale, as mass as they can handle. I used to work 6-7 jobs at the same time. It was definitely too much for me to handle. I think 2 is more than enough. But yeah, so in arranged marriage, there's not so much making up of your mind with the opposite sex. I don't know, it just seems simpler, less propagandistic. But then again, in those countries, children are at the mercy of their parents, so we can't say no. But at least I'm learning how to say no to these bitches who pretend to be so righteous. Anyway, or seem to be. They do send hints, but it's easy to ignore when you're thinking with the wrong head, I guess. For example, politics is presently a focus of interest. And that's another exploitation of propaganda, of keeping us unstable, making us fixated on thinking with the inferior head. For example, politics is presently a focus of interest. It was not so in the 12th century. Damn, okay. Right, different times, more simpler times. Something we all dream of. Being able to live on the same property and work for all the wealth that we create, even though we were forced to, or they were forced to, relinquish the majority of their goods to the big dogs. But and they were also probably starving partially too, because of all the injustices. But anyhow, the prejudice that was the 12th century. So the prejudices of the right or the left come later. That is already more individual, whereas the focus of interest on politics as such is truly collective. Not individual prejudice, but the collective shared foci of interest are the best fields of action for propaganda. So hence, bringing up certain topics and subjects in certain areas where propaganda is being promoted can get you kicked out of the room, as we have seen with reporters in the past, in the distant past. Some young ones might not remember it, but back in the day, 90s and 2000s, when I was here, prejudices and stereotypes can be the result of a person's background. Prejudice and stereotype. Result of person's background stemming from his education, work, environment, and so on. But the foci of interest are truly produced by the whole of society. Why is modern woman obsessed with technology? One can answer that question only by an analysis of present-day society as a whole. In 1965, this goes for all the centers of interest of contemporary man, woman, and child. It should be noted incidentally that these centers of interest are becoming more alike in all parts of the world. Thus, a focus of political interest is developing among the Asian peoples, the Muslims, and the Africans. Political interest is developing amongst the backward nations. The asexual trifecta, they call them. Some black girl said in a chat. They're the apolitical ones. They're still catching up to us. They're still ape-like. They're not as superior as the, the communists now. This expansion of interest inevitably entails a simultaneous expansion of propaganda, which may not be identical in all countries, but which will be able to operate in the same basic patterns and be related to the same centers of interest everywhere. So, the mind control propaganda on your TV screen by Hollywood, Bollywood, and the such, they are not identical, obviously. Very different taboos and themes and mental catering to different mindsets. But there's the same basic pattern. So the same kind of hypersexualization of the children, the same promotion of foolish ideas and expectations from the opposite sex and so forth. Because we all have the same centers of interest everywhere. So we now take up another basic trait of the social psychology of propaganda. That's why they say don't think with your dick and keep the bitches in check. Yeah. Don't keep the same centers of interest everywhere. We now take up another basic trait of the social psychology of propaganda. Okay. Another basic trait of the social psychology of propaganda. The more intense the life of a group to which an individual belongs, the more active and effective propaganda is. Oh man, that's so true. Because they can hit you with different techniques. The more intense the life of the group is, they got more weapons in their arsenal. Man, I can't believe just by criticizing the flaws of organizations, I'm now being called a freaking extremist and belonger of radical theories. Almost like a fucking terrorist. Way to go, huh? And the bitch is from the military. God damn. So that means they don't stop. They don't stop. You smoke the pot, you get labeled terrorist. A crack pot just for making a joke. That is not acceptable to the thought. Ridiculous. He says, she says, then she gotta be upholded. Cause the bitches don't lie, only man is vicious. Tyrant. Anyway, the group in which feelings of belonging are weak, in which common objectives are imprecise, or the structure is in the process of changing. Okay, so you gotta have the feeling of belonging for the propaganda. You gotta have common objectives that are precise. That's why they always have the mottos. And the structure is in the process of changing. Oh shit, that's what happened to my club. Fuck my whole fucking life up, yo. Too dependent. I didn't realize these rules. But anyway, so conflicts are rare. So I guess even having a lot of conflicts is good for the propagandists. Hence, they loved to instigate me. And unfortunately, now I'm covered in mud. Fucking with the pigs, yo. So don't make the mistake. Stay a forester. Surrounded by silence. Because the propaganda is full of mental violence, intellectual trickery, and which is not tied to a collective focus of interest. So that's also important for valid propaganda to be made to the members and to those outside. But where the vitality of a group finds expression in the forms mentioned, it not only can make effective propaganda, but it can also make its members increasingly sensitive to propaganda in general. Damn, so it's a good thing people didn't stay around at that club, because they were smarter than me by ducking out and staying low to the ground. Like I used to, but anyway, I guess I'm like too gung-ho with the stupidity again. Oh, fuck. Oh, man. The more active and alive a group, the more its members will listen to propaganda and believe it. So, it reminds me of like when America was like, number one, we're number one, we're number one, and then 9/11 happened, 9/11. Like now we have Me Too. So then it was 9/11, and the people were fucking crazy. Everybody was just like treating me like a criminal and shit. God damn. Outcast. Suddenly outcast. Not like being a FOB was bad enough. Growing up in an Asian community. Anyway, the more active and alive a group, the more its members will listen to propaganda and believe it. So that's I think the main reason the females are so stupid and propagandized and manipulated, is because their female society is much more active and alive, and males don't even get to have a society because they're the slaves of the society, propping it up. At least the majority of the males. Anyway. But this holds true only for propaganda by the group itself towards its members. Oh, becoming more sensitive to the vibrancy of the group, obviously. That's why certain groups are so dangerous, like everyone's afraid of the Nazis, or even the jihadis, or Jesus and his apostles, because his apostles would be much more susceptible and sensitive to the propaganda than would be the undecided out there from the previous section. Alright, I think I'm going to come back to this next video. Finish up the section. And I'll check it out with the second part of propaganda and the undecided.